All right. Hey, we're live, Priscilla. Thanks so much for joining me today. And for everyone else, we're a few minutes late. We're sorry. Technical issues, they happen sometimes. So,
Well, I'm so glad to be on finally with you. We've been such great colleagues for so long and collaborating. This is really a joy for me.
yeah, well, and I'm excited because I love the voice that you're going to bring to it. So, for everybody that's watching or listening to the podcast or watching the recording, um, Priscilla is the founder and CEO of Little Bird Marketing, and she also carries the title of Mama Bird, which is awesome. What I love about this conversation today that we're going to have is Priscilla's got a marketing background, but she's embraced whatever we want to call it, social selling. She's embraced micro influence, and we're going to get the perspective from a marketer on where this whole fits: lead generation versus demand generation. The term that Priscilla likes to use is flipping the pyramid. I think we're going to have a really great conversation today about it. So, Priscilla, welcome to the Digital Influence Show.
Awesome. So this is not going to be you just grilling me to death.
It's a it's a conversation. In fact, my hope is always that you're gonna talk a lot more than I talk, and anybody that's on the live, if they have questions, they're gonna ask questions, and we're gonna pose them to you, and you're gonna get to just bless us all with all that smartness that you have built up over the years.
Well, thanks. That's like flattery will get you everywhere with me, Brandon.
Well,
Well,
I try. I have four
well,
daughters and a wife. Remember, I
oh,
know
yes,
that part.
yes, yes, you're well versed. Good on you, good on you. Well, I usually start with where people are at, and usually people are very fearful, and even if they don't say that, they're not really awake and alive to really what is happening. They really are afraid of social media on some level,
Hmm.
and so they don't get in there, and usually the things I hear, and I'm sure that you hear this all the time, is either, number 1, I don't know what to say, or
Hmm.
everybody out there is icky. It's like it's too
Yep.
salesy. It's too like, oh, I hate that. Or, it's like
Hmm.
I don't like social media or whatever personal preference conversation they're gonna have. But there's usually some kind of trepidation or some kind of fear that's keeping them stuck. And I find that people really actually have the wrong mindset about what social media is, period.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think you're spot on. I had a conversation with somebody, can't remember, yesterday, the day before, CEO of a company, successful, smart, works hard. First thing out of his mouth, I don't know what to post.
Mhm. Yeah. And I totally understand it. You have to really get in tune with where they're stuck in order to help them. But part of the problem, they think that it's a writing problem in this particular case. It's like, well, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to post. But it's actually not a writing problem. It's a misunderstanding of what social media is as a tool, what it can do for you. And then also there's a small tweak too, even in the business to business world where you just talk about it being a CEO. They really misunderstand how LinkedIn is a B2B tool. And I guess, to what I could say, no matter what it is we're going to talk about, for this time, this is the reality. Unseen is unsold. And so no matter what they think, like, well, I don't like, LinkedIn, but then they're willing to have me or my creative directors, make a trifold brochure, which by the way, we're not allowed to make trifold brochures. That's a word you're not allowed to say here. But, they seem to be more comfortable with that. But how is the trifold brochure different from going online and posting something? And
Mm,
that's a big question right there. How is it different? It is quite
right.
different. But I kind of go back to this idea that, originally, the telegraph was social media. So get over this, oh, it's digital. It's, whatever your feelings are about Mark Zuckerberg or whatever your feelings are about who bought,
Hmm.
LinkedIn or, or how much you despise some political person on Twitter. Like it doesn't matter. Like get rid of all of those ideas and instead come back to
Hmm.
the center of what is it you're trying to do? And
Right.
why would you walk away from an incredibly powerful and incredibly natural and incredibly high reach platform or tool that will help you achieve your goals? So it really comes down to that, getting people to stop thinking about it like the Kardashians world and instead start saying, well, let me help you understand, like Brandon, in your world, what could this social media, what could social influence look like, and why would you want to do it?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with things like, would you like to have more conversations with your ideal customers faster? Right?
Right.
Very leading, easy question to ask,
Right.
right?
Right.
Y-
Unfortunately, to which most people say yes. And I say, great, who's your ideal client? Crickets. Or I say, well,
mhm.
what's your wish list? Who do you want to actually work with? Oh yeah, I've got a list. I'm like, great, show it to me. Oh no, I don't have it written down. Then you do not have a list. You
Right.
have an idea, and that idea is not going to go anywhere. And so since LinkedIn, since social media is a tool, the tool needs inputs. And if we have no inputs to go in there and start creating a plan, then the tool, the screwdriver is going to sit there all day long unless we have an actual screw. So, there are inputs that we need to be thinking about what we want to do. But I guess, I think the most powerful thing I could probably help you talk about, and really have a dynamic conversation with your audience is about this, what we talked about, flipping the pyramid up. Somehow you and I got on
Hmm.
this conversation a while back about what is the very, fundamental misconception about why you would go about building a presence on LinkedIn and how you do it. Right. And so far too many people have this approach that is very old school, very once upon a time when we used to have to go to Madison Avenue and ask if we could have an ad for our company and see if they would be, gracious enough to decide to take us on, and Guy Kawasaki was said to have said that social media is God's gift to entrepreneurs. And
Oh,
just to,
yeah.
isn't that true? It's so simple, but at no other time in life, in the history of commerce, have we had such direct access to the consumer with valuable information about who they are, what they like, where, what habits they have, the way they talk, just everything at our fingertips, all with being able to reach them on the same platform. Wait for it, for free. So I don't know what
Yeah.
there is to complain about social
And
media.
a simple, easy to use studio right here in
Oh
the
my
palm of your
gosh.
hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And so, if it is true that social media is God's gift to entrepreneurs, that's true also for anybody in their career who's looking to advance their thought leadership, advance their
Right.
career, a salesperson looking for the next sale, an organizer of a charity event looking for volunteers. It doesn't matter what your purpose is. You need to get out there. But I digress just a little bit, and I want to kind of get back to the old look of it, like what we were talking about, the upside down pyramid. So that's what people usually would think, and every once in a while the word, you know, um, the funnel will come up, and
Hmm.
obviously that's a word that you use an awful lot, and it's a super important concept. But what I think is needs to be turned upside down is this idea that I'm for everybody. So I have this big wide funnel out there. And so I'm going to try and get everybody in it. And then a few people are going to do this, and a few people are going to do this, and a few people are going to do this, and then narrow down at the bottom, boop, out pops a customer. you know? And so the
But that doesn't
game,
work.
no. You mean people don't work linearly like that? No. So that concept has led a lot of people, and especially in early days when Facebook was really starting to gain traction in commerce, led people to just make it a numbers game and just say, let me broadcast my message out there. And my gosh, I might piss a few people off, but my gosh, that one customer is going to pop out the bottom. And how can, you saw so many companies crop up about how you could get better, not just one, but if we could get 50,000 in your top, we could get two down there. And we could get, if we got,
Right.
and it was all these numbers and machinations about how to force more people through a rote system and force anybody through that in order to have a particular outcome. And that's not really an economical way of doing things. And also, P.S., I don't think I want to live in that world. where I'm just being barraged by everybody's message in hopes that, I'm going to do the work to sift it out and, come to find the vendor that I want. So the idea here is really what we want to talk about today. And I'd love to hear a little bit from you too about it, because you and I teach this, we live it, we work in it. And I think sometimes, sharing the ideas, we constantly see something a little bit differently. But the big
Hmm.
premise is turn that pyramid, that upside down pyramid, right side up. Right? There's a
Yeah.
reason why there's a big bottom, because it is foundational. It's going to sustain you. And so at the
Yeah.
top there, you're at the top. And now instead of being concerned with just reaching out to everybody and anybody, which in my opinion, as a CEO of a digital marketing firm, the moment you are pitching to everybody is the moment you are pitching to nobody. Instead, all you have to do is start with you, stay in that authentic, expertise that you have, be helpful, and start building a micro influencing bubble. Like, who are the people who find your expertise absolutely so crazy valuable, and and pleasing them and serving them and sharpening your sword there, and building, not only your small group, but then a group of advocates, because we do know that most of the decisions about your life and about your business are being made in a room when you're not present. So how do we get people to advocate for us? And at the bottom of it is the flow of customers and the flow of whatever it is your goal is, people buying your book or people volunteering or whatever the flow. It puts the large funnel at the very bottom where there's more people, because guess what? You're not having to have a one-on-one with all of those individual people coming in. You're just doing your most natural work, influencing a core group of people and not selling to them, but selling through them. And that's a very different dynamic for social influence.
Yeah. Keep going. I'm just enjoying this.
But I'm doing all the
Yeah.
talking, Brandon, and
Well, that's the point.
we're
You're the
colleagues
guest.
and
Well,
experts.
yeah. No, but you're the guest today. But yeah, I mean, I think is breaking it down, the difference between lead generation versus demand generation.
Hmm.
If we want to throw terms at it,
Hmm.
is lead generation worked really, really well. But I think its time is kind of shifted, and I don't speak in hyperbole. So if I do accidentally, I don't mean it. But it's not that lead generation is dead. It's not that the phones are dead. It's not that emails are dead. I don't speak that way. But there is this shift in that the way buyers get information, the way buyers um, learn about other people, other voices, other tools, other solutions, other has fundamentally shifted.
Yes.
And
It's
in
the
order,
way we do everything, 100%.
right, and in order for companies to be at the front end of that, they have to do things differently to be seen. Like I call it the buyer's circle of trust. Remember, Meet the Fockers movie, the circle of trust.
Yes.
Um, Buyers have their own circle of trust now, and as companies, as salespeople, we need to figure out how to get invited into the circle of trust. And we have to do that by opening our digital mouths. And that means we need to share what we think, because we don't live in a world anymore where we can go, can I have a meeting? And in the meeting, I'm going to demonstrate to you that I have value. No,
Yeah.
you have to demonstrate that you have value in order to get the opportunity to the meeting. And
Right.
that's what I think you're saying with inverting that pyramid, is that we've got to see ourselves at the top, and our voice is going to, and our voice, which is our presence on social media, the activity in social media, commenting on other people's stuff, posting our own stuff, all of that presence starts to build network. And then that network, if we're strategic about it, should be a lot of, not all, but should include our ideal customers. And then everything just kind of builds from there. And that's how we generate buyers who want to buy from us, instead of opportunities for us to try and sell something.
Hmm.
And I've heard it said before, but sometimes we just got to keep trying it, that a square peg doesn't fit into a round hole.
I love that. And what you're
Maybe
talking
I'm
about,
wrong.
this, no, this circle of trust, this to me comes down to the long-term game, of social influence, which is, I kind of refer to it as the duty of care. If I ask these people into my network and I connected with them, then I have some kind of a duty to actually provide an amazing experience, right? And that is what's going to reflect on me. But it really comes down to what you just talked about. And I'll reference a minute. I talked about people broadcasting messages. But what you just referred to basically leads me to the understanding that if I want to create micro influence that is powerful enough and has a dynamic reach, I'm going to have to narrowcast. I'm going to have to identify what it is my most ideal buyer wants, what they need, what they're suffering from, what they're sick and tired of, what is
Hmm.
stumping them, what's stymieing them, what's got them stuck. I mean, whatever it is. And I need to begin to investigate that and be along for the journey, either a co-partner on the journey. Maybe I don't know everything, but I could be a sojourner, or I can be an expert that comes in and provides some consideration for them. And so in that begins this journey of narrowcasting that's super powerful. But let's stop for a minute and talk about why this, because some people have already tuned out and been like, oh, that sounds, loosey goosey and it sounds like really touchy feely, but what we know about the B2B world, and this should frighten people, like this should be the scary part of the horror part of the show, okay, is that the B2B buyer is almost 60% of the way through their buyer's journey before your company ever becomes aware that they have any interest, before they make it down through any lead gen funnel, right? And so that 60% of
That's
it, they
can we clarify though? That's if if we're looking at the funnel not inverted way, correct?
no, no, either way, just so whether you're attacking it from a top down or whether you were attacking it from a big funnel, I'm talking about just the buyer's behavior outside of what
Mm,
we do. They're out there looking for stuff. They say, let's say we're going to look for a new software system. I'm going to keep it super generic. And I'm going to task somebody on my team with looking for this software system. Well, they go out and they're like, oh, okay, well, I can find this software, and that they're going to start doing what? Googling it, right? This is what's happening. So they're
mhm,
going to start Googling that, and they're going to go on a journey. And the first company that they look at anonymously, that they just read about them, right? So they're not connecting with them or tapping them on the shoulder or taking a meeting. No, they don't want that. They're information gathering right now, and they're going to spend a good part of their portion on a directed, self-directed, anonymous journey, right? And so
right,
that journey is happening, and within that journey, this is what is so frightening. They are also letting other people's content shape the requirements for their purchase. Oh, had you thought about, this one does ABC? Oh, I didn't come out here looking for my software to do ABC. But now that you mention that, we need to make sure that we have ABC functionality. Okay. So now this is informing me. Now this is shaping my requirements for what I'm purchasing. But all of this I'm doing anonymously. And in that anonymous journey, we also know that that buyer is reading at least 14 pieces of content. So I, as a digital content marketing company, I ask my clients, how many of those 14, highly ranked SEO pieces of content belong to you? Are you the
mhm,
ones informing them and already along that journey with them? Maybe, maybe not. But no matter whether we're attacking it incorrectly, in my opinion, from the big funnel down or up, by the time someone actually surfaces as a contact or potential lead, a prospect to us, they have gotten 60% of the way through their buyer's journey, and now we have to react. Now we've got it. They're ready to buy. And that's
right,
not a good place to be in, to have a consultative, high quality relationship with clients. And so we have to figure out a way how to insert ourselves way earlier in that puzzle. And part of it is content, but part of it is what we're talking about, influence.
right. Absolutely. And I think there is influence, as you said there, influence is the key to being able to be in that buyer's mindset prior to that 60% mark. I know that that number comes out from the Gartners and others, the buyer 60% of the way through the journey, which should scare the hell out of people, and it does. But it also gives the opportunity. If they're 60% of the way down, where are they getting information during that 60%?
Mhm.
And what I believe is that's where a lot of their organic search is happening. And I'm going to say search because it could
Mhm.
be search through Google, typical search, but it's also search through social.
Yes.
And more people are getting skilled at using a hashtag search or
Mhm.
using social media to go ask their network, hey, we're starting to research this. Who do you know or what do you recommend? I
Right.
see that a lot.
A
And
hundred
when
percent. 100%.
and when
Yeah.
the company and the individuals within the company, especially salespeople, have that public voice, they have influence, they have, it doesn't even have to be a show. It could just be they're consistently posting content, they're consistently commenting on comment of people in their industry and outside their industry. They build their tribe, they build their community, whatever term you want to use there, they're known.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when those organic initial searches are taking place, they're the ones whose name comes out of people's mouths and they're referred to them.
Right. This comes
That's
down
where
to
we,
this comes down to, I'm sure you're asked all the time, and about, building the profile correctly. And this,
mhm,
I love this point that you're making, and I really don't think it can be exaggerated. And that is, yes, the first thing that people do is they search. Well, in the past, people, the first thing they do is search Google. And that is true. That is still happening. But you're right. More and more we see people go directly to LinkedIn and search. And so then we have to know what is searchable in LinkedIn. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a closed network. So if you're not connected with me, guess what? You cannot search my posts. You can search my profile. That is what LinkedIn allows us to search. And so then the question becomes, yes, are you following certain hashtags? That can be very helpful. But also look at your profile. Are you making it so difficult for me to understand who you are and your expertise? And is it so bland and boring that this is a party I do not want to attend? Right. And
right.
so I decline the invitation. No, thanks. And so people
Yeah.
are not paying enough attention to either their headline, their tagline, that is really that amazing, first connection, that first impression that you don't get to redo, but also their about section is usually not helpful for me for it to be
Mhm.
a memorable experience, or to understand why they do what they do or how they go about doing what they do. But what I see, the massive failure in terms of what we're discussing here, the search function on LinkedIn, a massive failure is that in their experience sections, they are not putting proper experience things. There's not good keywords there. There's not good use of an explanation of really their
Mhm.
expertise. And so they go unseen, because if I do go out to LinkedIn and I do type in, say, this software feature, XYZ, and I want to know someone who's an expert on it. Well, if you haven't mentioned in your experience that you are an expert on that, you're not going to come up as a search appearance for me. And I push people back if they're scratching their head and wondering, is my profile messed up? All I can say is go to your actual analytics that's right on your profile page, the piece that's right, kind of right under your page, your picture. It's not too far down, and it says private to you. And there's three things in there that, while I don't get too hung up on numbers, I want to see them going up, but I'm not like just, again, this isn't the Kardashians. It's not about particular numbers. It's about understanding your numbers. But if you are not coming
Mhm.
up in a large reach of search appearances, you've got a profile problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, this, you may not agree with this, but I think a lot of LinkedIn experts put way too much emphasis on LinkedIn profile. I don't disagree with you, but I think that there are more um, natural, common ways that people are doing their social based searching, which
Hmm.
is because inherently we're all lazy. Like we want to take the route of least resistance. We want to get to our need, our goal, our conclusion as fast as possible. And what I see more and more of in my news feed is people that say, we need this. Who do you recommend? We're
Hmm.
starting to look at this. What do you think? And this is a huge, huge, huge opportunity for companies. If your team is trained and skilled and equipped with becoming that micro voice, as you've been saying, that micro influencer voice, where they're doing two key things that are extremely important to grow your network.
Mhm.
They're publishing posts and they're commenting on other people's posts. They've got this huge advantage. Now I'm going to do this big timeout right now. I'm going to have everybody just kind of pause for a second and let me share this scenario. Down the road from where you are right now, there's a big ballroom and it's filled with every single one of your ideal customers. And they're all in there. They all have their name tag on, so you know their name, you know the company they're with, you know their title, and you have the opportunity to go into that room. If you go in that room, what is the best thing to do? Now, I'm going to answer the question. Well, number one, you're going to go around and you're going to say something to people as a way to introduce yourself, right? The second thing you're going to do is you're going to listen and you're going to comment on what other people are saying as a way to move properly into someone else's conversation, as a way to do what? Build rapport, build familiarity, and at some point down the road, an opportunity to share who you are, what you do, and see if maybe there's a meeting on the end.
Yeah, and I would agree with you that people make that too, make the profile thing too much. I think people make a lot of the elements too much. That is one of the biggest problems. People don't have a natural flow understanding the entirety of what LinkedIn is. That to me is the mindset shift. And I offer to people that I think, like what you're talking about, the ballroom, I think LinkedIn is one big cocktail party. And so the profile issue to me is about I would never send out an invite to someone to come join me at a party at my house without cleaning my house. And so
Right.
I say clean your house. But I mean, once you clean the house, like, it's Thursday night and you clean the house and you're inviting everybody over on Friday, you don't go back during the middle of the conversation or during the middle of the, networking event at the ballroom or whatever. You don't sit there and dust while people are there. Like, you engage with
Yep.
people. And so I agree with you. It makes it too important. It
Mhm.
needs to be done. It needs to be done right with the right mindset. And that way you can move on to it. But you and I know that there's just so many people out there who charge all this money to perfect a LinkedIn profile. And it's just like, you know what? Take an hour and get really like fill the whole freaking thing out. It's not rocket science,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
look at great examples.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And my point, the analogy of the ballroom, like, if I was just hanging out at the pool with my kids or something, I might take a look and want to change my clothes before I go in there because it's not appropriate. And that's the analogy I would say of clean up your profile. But
Hmm.
from a search perspective, that's where I've got a pretty strong opinion about it. Is I think when it comes to the search perspective, there's value in our profiles having some SEO value within LinkedIn, but more importantly is your daily consistent activity in LinkedIn. Are you saying important things that is giving to your community? And I don't mean share your brochures. And I have no problem with somebody that's talking about, I post almost every Saturday about the hike that my wife and I and our daughter go on. But it gives insights into who I am as a person. No problem with personal stuff. But if you're not consistently talking about information that's valuable to your ideal customer, nobody's going to know who you are.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like a lot of like what's going on right now. People are, using it and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm using it to, invite so I create a good party and then I'm going to invite people to my party." And then they go out there and then they treat all the guests incredibly poorly. So, you and I
Right.
refer to this as the pitch slap. Here it comes. Someone connects with me,
Yep.
with some incredibly disingenuous, "Oh, I want to grow my network and see if we can help each other." It's like, and then here it comes, here's all the things
Yep.
I could do you, or my favorites, like, "Priscilla, what's the one most pressing, deep, dark secret going on at Little Bird right now that we could help you with?" It's like, I don't know you. And that's like the
Yeah.
equivalent of, walking into that, cocktail party and being like, "Hey, who wants to go to bed with me tonight?" It's so
Right.
inappropriate. Like you said, you're at the pool, you're going to get changed. We've got to do the
Yeah.
things that are super appropriate,
Yeah.
for that group. But, to me, it's
Yeah.
about getting those things in the right order. Clean your house, then go send the invite, and then you would come to the party. And I got to tell you exactly what you said, coming in there and every day posting something that matters, and engaging, and showing your personal side and showing your professional side, and really giving people a balanced, view of
Mhm.
it. You have to make it a great experience for people, and
Yeah.
the reason why I talk about the mindset of the cocktail party is because, you know, people do things online that they would not do in person. So if you invited me to your house for a mixer and I was
Unfortunately.
meeting your, yeah, I know, right? And you were introducing me to several of your friends, and we started, we were having cocktails before dinner. And if I walked in the room and you introduced me, and then I just did this and crossed my arms and sat over and just, I'm just gonna, no, I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna see what other people do. I would never get invited back to your house, number 1, because,
Right.
and number 2, that's weird. So quit doing
Yeah.
weird behavior. Like, people think that
Mhm.
that's, like, somehow a better use of LinkedIn. "Oh, no, I just read what people post." Okay, creepy. Get
Yeah.
out here and participate and do something good.
So it reminds me of about a year or so after, maybe a couple years after I graduated from college, I had a college friend that said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. Why don't you host a little barbecue and get the gang back together?" I'm like, "Okay, great." So I hosted this thing, and a bunch of people were over, and she came in and like set up an easel, and we're all looking around, and she did her MLM pitch.
Oh my god.
It reminds me of social media,
Oh my gosh,
right? I
that's a
mean,
that's a
and
pyramid I don't wanna talk about.
right, and I
That's
literally
crazy.
had to go over and go, "No, you're not
No.
doing this." Like, "Oh, no, it'll take, like, 15 minutes, it's no big deal." I'm like, "No,
No.
I invited everyone over for burgers and beers,
Yeah.
and you're gonna go pitch them all, and they're all gonna get mad at me, like,
Yeah.
don't
Oh my
don't bring
gosh.
this in."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a modern version, the pitch
Mhm.
slap is a modern version of that when we go straight into sale before there's any relationship or any opportunity of being welcomed into it.
Absolutely, and just so everybody here listening is just like, "I'm not interested in buying toilet paper through you." Okay, I just wanna go like a normal person and go buy it from the store, so don't even hit me up. So,
I take it that's a pitch slap that you get.
oh my gosh, it's just, and
Yeah.
sometimes, how it is online, it comes up and it comes down and, whatnot. But I think what we know is that what we can gather from that is people want shortcuts. They want to make a quick sale. They want to do that, and that does ruin some of the environment on LinkedIn, but it doesn't need to ruin it for you. And you can separate
Mhm.
those people out, start cultivating a really close, so just work on your influence within a small
Yep.
group and let it trickle to the next one and to the next one, and you get invited to a small little cocktail party, that's happening a little, and that's what a little post is. You mentioned one of the highlights, and I want to kind of unpack that, is one of the things that people undervalue is the value of going on someone else's feed, a post they have made, and commenting meaningfully and starting a conversation there. And I would liken it to this. So many people want to broadcast, 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 but when you walk into that cocktail party, you don't you don't shout from the door, "Hey, I'm over here. If anybody wants to talk to me, just come over here." Or you don't just start a conversation without anybody in front of you. You walk over to where a conversation is happening, one that looks interesting to you, and you, number 1, listen. You shut your mouth for a minute and you listen.
Mhm.
You
And
read
you
someone else's
join
post.
it.
Exactly. And then you get that opportunity to join. And you say, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I love that, but I could do you one better. Like, what about this thought?" Or, "Hey," or you also could be talking about, "Oh my gosh, that's such a great story. And that's great. You know what? Liz over here has had that experience. Oh my gosh, Liz, come share that." And you start bringing people to the conversation, and you start making a dynamic experience. And that is what happens where people, you said about that circle of trust. This is about, thinking through how to, these are very tangible ways that you build trust. You listen to people, you comment meaningfully, and you invite more people to the party. We're humans. It's the same thing in person than it is online. It's not a mystery, but people don't want to do it because it takes effort.
Yep.
And if you make that effort, you get rewarded.
I had a conversation with the CEO of a company the other day, and two things came out of it to give a illustration to what you just said. Number one, he said he had listened to me on. I was a guest on someone else's podcast, and he's like, "This whole commenting thing, like I just didn't believe it." And he's like, "But I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to try it." He's like, "I just did it for 2 days,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "And one of them, it was somebody who could be a really good client for me, but I went and commented on one of her posts, and it happened to be something about her dilemma of which iced coffee she was going to get that morning." And he said he commented something about, "Well, they both look really good. I don't think you could go wrong. And, I love iced coffee too." And guess what happened? She commented back.
A
And then,
conversation?
yeah, and then he commented back. And then he said he sent her a connection request and she accepted it like that.
Mhm.
And then they were chatting about maybe having a virtual iced coffee together to meet.
Oh, this is
And it was like this mind blow for him
yeah.
that it
Mhm.
worked.
Yeah, 100%, and people make it way too complicated, and they try to couch things in like, they try and pretend that they're doing something else. So, for example, he could have gone to that girl's profile, or that lady, that woman, whatever, sorry.
I'm
Could
glad
have
you
gone
said
like,
girl and
I'm
not
dude,
me.
guy, whatever, like, gone to her profile and said, "I wanna expand my naked. I think we could collaborate. I think we could work together."
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you just
Eh,
started a complete different relationship with me, one that I'm probably not pursuing, right? And
yeah.
so, swipe left. Is it left that's out? I don't know. Like, yeah, swipe left,
I've been
right?
married too long to even
Okay,
know.
me too. I'm like coming into 3 decades done. So, I think it's swipe left. But anyway, you don't. It's the kind of fish that you use. The kind of bait that you use is the fish you get.
Yeah.
So you want to be disingenuous and kind of be like, no, I'm trying to build my. No, you're not. You're trying to connect with someone to get a meeting. Why
Mhm.
don't you go to the comment and just say, you know what? I love iced coffee. I'd love to connect with you and get a meeting. Let's have iced coffee. In fact, I'll send you a Starbucks card. Let's do it. It'll be fun.
Right.
If we just are honest about what it is that we're doing, why should we be ashamed that we're all trying to do business out here? I'm not ashamed of
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm going to bring my whole self to it. And if I could invite
Mhm.
someone to and send them my funny, very, very funny order, which all my friends laugh about exactly how I want my coffee, then I'm talking human to human. And now it
Yeah.
feels different. And even if this person is not going to do business with me, at least they're not going to leave with a bad taste in their mouth. It's like, you know what? Not now. A no today is not maybe a no forever, but that's not really what I'm looking for, but I've spent 10 minutes engaging with a human and to make that realization. To me, that's the world I want to live in.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's the good counter to what takes place right now, which is I want to be able to do it as fast as I can. And if it's not valuable for me, I'm out. And
Mhm.
those are the two things that I think when we talk about how do we bring professionalism and humanity back to sales, it's we've got to know number one, it's okay to be human.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got this tactic used on me a couple of times now, and I'm like, okay, here we go. It's still trying to take a shortcut, but it's pretending to be human, but not fully.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm getting these messages that are like, okay, so social is social media. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My biggest fear is this. My favorite TV show is this. And da 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 is this. Okay, your turn. I'm like,
Who are
I don't know
you?
who the hell you I don't know who the hell you are. Like, I get it, you're trying to be human in social
Mhm.
media, but
Mhm.
trying to be human is different than just being a human.
Oh my gosh, there's your pulled quote for for this session. And again, it is that shortcut thing, but I think it also comes oftentimes from a deeper place, and that is, I really understand the value of my expertise and what I have to offer, and I have a great network to offer, and so I want to be careful with it, and I want to be careful with the people in my audience. I like the idea you talked about, like there's a ballroom down the street, it's full of people who are your ideal clients. Well, my good friend Sarah Kotva from Fieldwork, she's an amazing social influencer, and she has done the hard work and the long route, and she's benefiting from it. But she likens it to I want to fill my seats. And so she's like, yes, there's a ballroom down the street. I'm about ready to walk into it. But she wants to carefully choose who are going to be in those seats. And
Mhm.
I love that idea. nothing else has this dynamic of a reach that I can get so many people, in with one effort from me. I mean, honestly, if I send an email to you, Brandon, it's going to you, and I've got to do that a million times. But by actually being myself and putting my content, putting my expertise out on LinkedIn, because I've carefully built up my reach, I can reach people that I wouldn't have even thought to, ask them to fill one of my seats. I didn't know they were looking for what I do. And so by effect, I'm getting this amazing exposure. My ideas are getting these amazing exposure that I couldn't have even dreamt of. And that allows me to
Yeah.
fill my seats in the people that I am trying to influence.
I think that's great. And we are going to end on that note because I think it was such an important thing. Yeah, there's ballrooms down there and they're filled with your customers, but how does your behavior help you fill the seats around you that you want to behave in? As I've gotten older, it's actually become the no asshole rule. I don't have time for asshole clients, right? Life's too short to be dealing with difficult, challenging. It's like I want to handpick my clients where I can bring my best to them and they could receive it well. And we work, harmoniously together in that place. So, Priscilla, as always, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining me on the show. And before we go, can you please tell everybody best way for them to find you and a little bit about Little Bird?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Brandon. And obviously, I'll talk with you anywhere. So, and also the cocktail party sounds really great. So let's do
Let's
that.
do it too. We'll do that later this
The beers and
afternoon. We'll be
barbecue.
ready.
Yeah, yeah, all of them. All of, I'm yes to it. I'm here for it all. Yeah, of course, you can catch me on LinkedIn. I'm always out there. I'm always answering it myself. So be happy to connect with you. It's Priscilla, Priscilla. You can see it right there if you're or if you're tuning in audibly. Hopefully that helps. But of course, we have lots of free resources over at littlebirdmarketing.com. We have our own podcast there as well. But we also have a social influence course that we teach. And if someone's interested in really, I don't want to cut the corners anymore. I don't want to do the shortcuts. I really want someone to teach me how to change my behavior and change my mindset and really have a great win. You can take a look at that, and it's under our courses tab.
Excellent. Wonderful, Priscilla. Thank you so much. Happy Friday to you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks. I
And
look
for
forward to your
everyone,
Saturday. I want to see your Saturday hike, Brandon. I always look
you
forward
got
to
it.
it.
You got it. Thank you. And tomorrow is not going to be a hike in the mountains because we have afternoon plans, but we're going to do a long flatter walk on a green belt. So we'll take some pictures out there. They just won't be quite as pretty as the North Georgia mountains. But so for anyone on the podcast, thank you for listening. And links to Priscilla's LinkedIn account and Little Bird Marketing will be in the show notes. And for everyone else watching on LinkedIn, she's right there in front of you. You should be able to click and go find her that way. So Priscilla, thank you again so much. You have a wonderful day.
Awesome.